For school board meeting. This meeting is now called to order. Will you please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so he was thrown into mine.
Lord have mercy. We're going right to the agenda. Item number 2, and amendments to the agenda. We have one amendment to the agenda, and that's going to go under items for individual consideration. That's going to be 5.9 UDT contract. Then we're going to pull 2 items. Items recommended for individual consideration. We're going to pull 5.1, that's the Fitbit playground presentation that we just had at the workshop. Then we're going to pull 5.2, Madison County High School chiller bids. We're pulling that, and the superintendent and Ms. Rose are asking for a special meeting. The superintendent is suggesting September 25th, 2024. Board members,
At what time?
let us decide on the meeting if they're comfortable with that.
I'm good with it.
You good with it? Okay.
I mean, it depends on
Okay.
the time for me.
They're comfortable
I need-
on that particular date. Now, what is a good time?
The earlier the better for me.
Yeah, earlier would be better for me. too.
Okay, so
I can't
what are
do
you
evening.
suggesting, board members, superintendent?
I'm suggesting 12 o'clock.
You gonna feed us lunch?
No, ma'am, I won't even be
12
here.
o'clock is my lunch break now.
Well, then I go say 1 o'clock.
And you're not gonna be here?
I suggest 1 o'clock.
And so how long will this meeting take? Ms.
about-
Rose, 30 minutes?
No.
Not that long?
Yeah, no, it'll probably take 30 minutes. They're gonna present the bids and their recommendations for the chillers. They had to extend the time because they didn't get enough bids.
Okay,
And so they extended the time to the 23rd, so that now they can get more reasonable bids coming in. So on the 25th, they wanna present it and make their recommendation of which company.
so what say you all are saying, the earlier the better?
Yeah.
11:30? Is that too early, or 11 o'clock?
I could do it at 9 o'clock, I mean, it's fine with me.
I'll be up 9 o'clock.
11 o'clock's fine.
I'm an early bird.
11 o'clock's fine with me.
Is that good enough?
11.
Okay. Madam Superintendent, they said at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
And are you gonna be here then?
No, ma'am, I'll be at the FAS meeting, but I still won't leave in the lunch. That's why I said 1 o'clock. I changed it to 1 o'clock. But
Okay.
y'all said 11 o'clock.
And then I go right into my lunch, 12 o'clock. Okay, so we got that all, now, we got the amendments to the agenda. May I have the adoption of the agenda, please? Motion?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we adopt the agenda. All in favor of? Please show your hands. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. Public comments, item number 3. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay, thank you. Item 4, consent agenda items. May I have a motion for?
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Carroll, that we approve the consent agenda items. All in favor of, please show your hands. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. Item 5, items for individual consideration. We've pulled 5.1 and also 5.2. We'll go directly to 5.3, salary schedules for 24-25. Mrs. Rose.
Yes, earlier about a month ago, you took the 23-24 salary schedule and had to adopt it as the interim 24-25 schedule. Meanwhile, you met in an executive session about the union contract, and you made recommendations that we took back to the union, and they accepted the recommendations you made. So what this schedule is showing you that the teacher's salaries went up from $42,500 to $45,000 as the base salary. It also is taking all of the non-instructional and giving them a 3%, and the administrative, and giving them 3% salary raise from last year. Keep in mind, the non-instructional and administrative did not get salary increases last year. And you're also, your teachers that did not get the $2,500 boost got at least 3%. So all of your teachers got a minimum of 3% increase. Your new teachers got the $2,500, then there's probably about 50 of those teachers that got up to that 45, which is further compressing the schedule. So once we get to 47.5, then we're going to have to start negotiating with how are we going to individualize some of those years of service. I think that's correct, Robert, is that not?
So, question, on this level 11,
Yes.
that is less than, can you explain that to me?
Level,
11 on the instructional,
It's at 44.
it's 44,623.
no, that's not right. That's not right. Nothing on that schedule should be below 45,000. So I'm gonna have to go back and we have to clean that up. Keep in mind, this is our first attempt to pull this together without Miss Betsy.
Okay.
So we
So-
will make sure that that gets cleared up.
Should it have
So
been
that's
45, 60?
8, 9, 10, and 11.
8
Yes.
to 11 has to be caught up.
So it might be a typing error,
It might.
typographical, I don't know.
And we'll make sure.
Yes,
We will
ma'am.
make sure that that's correct.
My 8 through 10 is at 45.
8, 9, and 10 are at 45, but it drops down to 44 at 11.
Yes, it will. No.
8, 9, 10, 11's the only one that's below 45 on my sheet.
That's how it is for me as well.
Correct, but she's saying the rate increase should have started at
It
8.
should have started at 8.
Yeah, that shouldn't be. There's something slipped up in that formula somehow.
So it should start at 8.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We will get that cleaned up. So
Thank
none of
you.
the teacher salaries should be, minimum should be
This one
45,000.
does
Yeah,
start.
that was right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it would move up from there based on their years of service.
So, okay,
Before we send this up to the department, I will go in and verify all those formulas to make sure that those formulas are not what's kicking it up.
thank you. Okay.
But other than that, then I think, Ms. Hill, do you have any additions to the salary schedule, any discussion?
There's the MOU that goes with that, it just says it's retroactive back.
Yeah, they agreed originally to having it take effect immediate upon ratification, but because ratification was delayed, we have another MOU that's going to tie it back to being retroactive. So it'll go back to the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I do need, the board does need to approve.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the salary schedule for 2024, 2025.
With the corrections of 8 through 11.
And then it's gonna go back retroactive,
Yes, it's going to be retroactive.
so that's in your,
That's part of the,
So you got 3 things. You got instructional salary schedule, non-instructional salary schedule, and MOU. Y'all can do those as 3 separate motions, second and vote, or you can do it all at once.
all at once with the retroactive.
let me make I move to approve the non-instructional salary schedule.
Non-instructional.
We'll do
I
it
second.
separately then.
I second.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna do it
We're
individually?
going to do it individually.
Non-instructional.
I made the motion.
I second.
Okay. It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the non-instructional salary schedule. Questions? All in favor? 5-0, Mrs. Bishop.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to accept the instructional salary recommendations with the corrections of lines 8 through 11.
Can I do this? Why don't we say with the correction of no salary being below 45,000, no annual salary being below
With
45,000.
the correction of
That's
no
already in the
salary
contract.
being below $45,000.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we approve the instructional salary schedule with no salaries being below $44,000.
45.
45.
No
What?
instruction.
Well, this is instructional. We've done the
They approved
non-instructional.
non-instructional separately.
Okay, questions? All in favor of, please show your hands. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the MOU to make the non-instructional and instructional retroactive to July 1st, 2024.
Second.
Where did that second come from?
We both said it.
Going with her.
Okay, it has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we accept the instructional and non-instructional salary schedule to be retroactive.
The MOU.
The MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, be retroactive for the salary schedule, beginning of the school year. Okay. All in favor of? 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. Anything else concerning that, Mr. Turner? Thank you. 5.4, personnel changes and volunteers. Mr. Killingsworth.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This evening we have, our volunteer list. If you have that one, you will see that we have, at this time, 51 people at particular school in question, and the type of event as to which they wish to volunteer for. I'm asking your approval for those 51 people at this time. I'm also asking, you will see on your second one about your substitute teachers, paras, food service, and custodians. The names listed on there, most of them are substitute teachers with the exception of the last two. One of them being for transportation and food service, one of them is just says for transportation, but in a minute I'll back that one up. And then your last and final one is your personnel changes. For this month, we have one new person at Central, that teacher that we're asking, Ms. Atkins, for you to approve. And then we have 4 resignations and 1 retirement on that.
Congratulations.
That will conclude our personnel changes for tonight. For me, any day there.
I don't know, we're gonna vote you out.
Personnel
No,
changes.
anybody-
Listen, yeah.
I guess Ben say we don't have to vote them out.
I've always had to go by what the 5 of you say, but on that one, I go by what the 1 says. But I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I appreciate
Yes, sir.
that.
So this is a motion for the volunteers and personnel
So,
changes.
Madam Chair, I move to accept all of the personnel changes, including volunteers and substitutes.
Okay.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Carroll, that we accept the personnel changes, volunteers, and substitutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to say congratulations on your
Let us
retirement.
finish with this motion, and then you can, all in favor? 5-0.
Congratulations. You went from being my school principal to now me being on the board in your span of time, so hope you enjoy your
From his
retirement.
boss to your boss, you his
Well,
boss.
he was my boss, yeah. I might have gotten in trouble a few times.
Thank y'all.
How many
Thank you.
years, man?
35.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your
Go,
service.
go chase some chicken.
Thank you. .5, staff travels, Mrs. Joseph.
Okay, we have the staff travels that's listed, the original 3. Let me see. Okay, the FAFSA conference Mr. White is going there as the school safety conference, the school finance conference, Ms. Rose and Sandy will be attending there. Fizbit, Sandy, Rose, Shirley, and Katie for Fizbit. For BSI Cultivating Coaches in Gainesville, that's Miss Irvin and Miss Kaufman. Okay, Pace Monthly Coach and Cadre, that's a one-day meeting. And number 6, that Pace Leveraging the Best Standards, that's a one-day meeting. Those are the staff trips that we are recommending.
I move to approve the staff travel.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mr. Carroll, that we approve the staff travel. Questions? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. Okay, item 5.6, Madison County High School supplements.
Okay.
Mrs. Joseph?
This should have been stated supplement updates because earlier this year you approved the updates for the Madison County High School, but since then you changed the supplements that were being offered this year, and so we just redid the entire schedule. And so this is an update for the high school supplements.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the updates to the Madison County High School supplementals.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we approve the updates to the high school supplements.
Let
Question?
me ask this.
Yes, sir.
I mean, this is not the people, but the supplements, right?
Okay, you
But
are
because my
approving-
son's on here, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, you're gonna have to abstain yourself because we are approving the people that's receiving the supplements. You approved the supplements prior when you approved the
I
contract.
got
Now we're putting the people in those positions.
Okay. Well, I abstained for conflict with, my son is on here.
So that's what we're approving, the people.
You're improving the people.
Okay. Mr. Carroll has abstained, so can we have a motion of approval?
I make a motion to approve the supplemental list for Madison
I
County.
already made a motion.
Oh.
It's already on the floor, we just need a vote.
Did it already seconded?
It's already seconded, we just need a vote.
Oh.
All in favor?
Mr. Carroll, you know, you gotta fill out that.
Sure did, because
sheet.
Frankie started talking,
Yeah,
didn't he?
that's right.
Yes,
We all got.
He got you sidetracked.
yes.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Knight. 5.7, school improvement plans, Mrs. Barbara Thomas. Hello.
Alright, so we have a lot of them to go through, but if it's okay with you guys, we'll, go through the first one in a lot of detail, just explaining the different components, and then we'll just look at the others, and we have questions when we get to, section. So beginning with Pioneer Elementary School, the first thing I want to point out is if we, turn the page and go to, that was like page 1.
Said Panetta.
At the bottom of page 1, it tells you what area the school falls in. It explains the difference between CSI, TSI, ATSI. So that's a very important page because it lets us know what each school is going to be. So for TSI, it just simply means that the school has an overall federal index of less than 41%, or a graduation rate less than 67%, has a school grade of a D or an F, or have a federal index of 41% in the same subgroup for 6 consecutive years. If it's identified as TSI, meaning target for support and improvement, it means that at least one consistent underperforming subgroup had a federal index of less than 32 for at least 3 years, 3 consecutive years. And then if it's just what we call ATSI, or additional target support, it means that there's at least one or more subgroups that have a federal index below 41%. So when we go through and talk about each That's just your guide to let you know the reason they were targeted. So the first couple of pages just go through the leadership team at each school. It identifies the people that help develop the plan, but are also leaders at the school. And it also goes through and lists their job duties and responsibilities as it relates to school improvement. So you'll find that on the first couple of pages. And then when we get to page 7, this is where our demographic data is. So just a lot of detailed information about the school as far as the grades the school serves, the Title I status of the school, the minority rate for the school, if there's the rate for the economically disadvantaged students, if it's a raised school. And raised school means they've been identified for their reading test scores only. So you'll find that information on this demographic page. It also gives you the history of the school grades for the school, and it also gives you what they call ESSA subgroups. And this means that subgroups perform below the 41%, and so you'll see those listed. And the other thing about subgroups is that it has to be at least 10 or more students to create a subgroup. So for each school, you'll find if they have students listed, subgroups that are underperforming the federal index of 41%, they'll be listed here. Go to the next page, and this is where on page 8 we find our early warning systems data. This is where principals, administration in general, the leadership team are looking at things such as the student attendance. So they're looking at their absences, they're looking at their referrals, they're looking at previous retentions, they're looking at their test scores on the math test, math statewide assessment, the ELA statewide assessment. They're looking at their course failures. So you can see that this data is broken down by grade level. This is one of the things they use to help with the MTSS process, just identifying students who need additional support. So you'll find this by grade level. And then when we go over to page 12, when you get down to page 12, you see here the school, this district, and the state comparison, and it's compared over 3 years, so you get a chance to see the trend data of where the school was in comparison to Madison as a district, but also the state of Florida. You will find in 2023, if you look there, you'll see some of the areas are grayed out, and that's because there were no learning gains used to, in that particular year, 2023, there were no learning gains used to develop school grades. And so you'll see they came back in 2024 and will now have learning gains. This just gives you a chance to see what the trend data looks like as far as how the school did in the areas of ELA math, learning gains for both ELA math, science, and graduation rate. And when we get to the middle school and the high school level, they also look at acceleration in college readiness. So this next page 13, I was telling you earlier, the first page gives you information about the difference between a CSI school, a TSI school, and then the ATSI school. Page 13 is going to show you what this particular school, no matter which school you're looking at, it's going to show you what that school is identified as. For instance, Pinette is identified as an ATSI school, meaning they have at least one subgroup of their students that did not meet the 41% for the federal index. And it's also going to tell you the percent of their students who were able to test, and it'll tell you the number of subgroups that did not meet the mark. And if you look below at the bottom, it's going to give you trend data going all the way back to 2017, 2018. It's going to tell you if they had an ESSA subgroup that did not meet the 41%. And that same type of information is carried over to 14. It specifically lets you know the different subgroups For instance, we're looking here at Pinetta, and it has students with disabilities, Black, African American students, white students, economically disadvantaged students, and you can see which groups did not meet the subgroup, the number of years in which they did not meet the subgroup. So that information is really helpful for administration because it helps them to target specific groups when they're thinking about developing their goals and their school improvement plan. And as they develop their plan, they're specifically supposed to look at the subgroup data to drive what they want to focus on this school year and develop action steps for helping that subgroup improve in whichever area they need, whether it's the ELA or the math, things like that. And that also subgroup continues on to the next couple of pages. And then we get to page 17 where it says accountability components by subgroup. You're able to see these components let you know what the school grade components are. So if you wonder how do they determine the school grades, this accountability component by subgroup tells you exactly what they look at. And you can see here, I want to just point out, for the ELA, they added a separate cell, if you will, and that's the third grade ELA. So greater emphasis is placed on third graders because they not only count with your overall reading scores, but they also have a cell by themselves that counts towards your school grade. So these are the different components, and you can see based on the school you're looking at, like I was saying earlier, if it's a middle school, they're going to have acceleration. High school is going to have acceleration. So it also depends on the type of school and the grade levels they serve. But this chart right here lets you know each and every category that a school can have in order to come up with their school grade. Very important chart. Okay, so we can go on a couple of, and go past that because those are just about tell you specifically what each school has. And then they have a section starting on 21 that's entitled Planning for Improvement. This is where the leadership team, along with their SAC committee, is supposed to go through their data. So they're looking at their all of their data that they had compiled from taking their assessments in May, and they are going through it, doing a data analysis, trying to determine what areas of growth they need to shoot for, what's realistic for them to expect, and they're coming up with a plan. So this data analysis has specific questions that makes them look at their greatest areas of need, the areas that improved the most the year before, their areas that have the greatest gaps, and it's just a good tool for them to go through in order to see where they need the most help. Then we move on and we have what's called area of focus. Area of focus is where they start building their goals for this school year and also map out a plan as to how they're going to achieve those goals. In the area of focus, looking at, for instance, and we'll do this with the other schools too, area of focus for Pinetta, they have an instructional practice specifically related to their math, and this was because they looked at their math scores and they weren't as good as they expected or wanted them to be, so their plan is to make sure they're focusing on trying to increase their student math scores. And they have a rationale here. So the rationale is based on 2023-24 into the year FAST data. We notice our fourth through sixth grade mathematics scores declined by 10% or more in each grade level. And then they have to come up with a measurable outcome. Their goal has to be measurable. And their goal is during the 2024-25 school year, we will increase our 4th through 6th grade math scores by 10% in each grade level. If you go down further, you'll find out how they plan to monitor whether or not they are working on that goal and making strides towards meeting that goal. So they're going to do that by looking at their STAR data. They'll take the STAR data and the STAR assessment on a monthly basis. And at the end of the month, they'll disaggregate the data and look to see where students are. They'll build their pacing charts based on that data, and teachers will use that to drive instruction. They're also going to use our partner K-12 LIFT, looking at their data reports and just helping them hone in on the skills and things that we were missing. And then also district progress monitor, in which we go out, meet with the administration and leadership. Sometimes we're able to meet with the teachers, go in and do walkthroughs, come back, give them feedback. So as far as the plan to how they're going to do it, if you look at where it says action steps to implement, action step number 1, they're going to use exact path and reflex math will be used weekly to remediate skills. The Savage math interventions will be used daily during targeted small groups. And so the reflex math is more of it's more of a tool that's used just for, you know, multiplication, addition, subtraction, just quick recall, helping students learn how to recall that information so they can move more quickly on math problems. And then the exact path is one of our +1 technology programs where students take the assessment and it puts them on a path based on their skill set. So it kind of helps the student bridge where they are. After that, they're going to use the exact path, the computer-based lessons, as well as implement the Savage interventions daily. We will also meet with our math coach to create focus calendars and adjust our instruction as needed. And the math coach has been assigned, I think, yeah, she goes out there weekly and then meets with the teachers, looks at the data with them, and looks at if they need to go back and reteach or if they can continue. Area of focus number 2 is specifically relating to ELA and their rationale. They noticed their ELA lower quartile students did not show adequate learning gains on the ELA FAST assessment. They only had 20% of their students in the lower quartile show learning gains. So that was a big concern. And like I said earlier, that was one of the subgroups. So within your subgroup, the state specifically wants you to target your subgroups and come up with a plan and how you're going to help them. Their measurable outcome, the goal they have is to increase the lower quartile scores from 20% to 50%, increasing 5 out of 10 students that are in the bottom quartile. And they're going to do this, they're going to be able to monitor this through a FAST data, monthly STAR assessment, and conducting data chats and data reports with the students. The evidence-based interventions that they're going to use, they're going to use Journeys Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions. Those are interventions that are found in their curriculum. They're going to use fccr.org activities. These are all research-based activities. They'll use the Read Naturally interventions and the exact path. Teachers will also assign lessons that are on grade level to enhance and practice skills. Teachers will use targeted interventions to help students with specific benchmarks during small group and intervention times. Pinetta and like all of our schools have time built in their master schedule for interventions. And it's during that time where whatever the student is struggling with, they're going to look at what they're struggling with, and the teacher's going to provide that extra instruction. The action step. Exact path journeys, FCCR activities, and Read Naturally will be used weekly to remediate skills. These interventions will be used daily during targeted small groups. Every school is asked this year on their school improvement plan to address the culture of the school, just making sure you have a positive culture and environment. And their goal here today, for this year rather, says our school reported 35 discipline referrals for last year, 2023-24. We will implement the following programs to help build student morale and encourage positive behavior. PBIS program, PBIS team monthly meeting, and the Brave Bucks store, in which students earn Brave Books and are allowed to go to the store. And they're going to, of course, use, the number of students with discipline referrals to monitor if that is working those are all of their, focus areas. And now we'll go to the areas of focus for Madison County High School. I did want to point out one thing. If you look at the accountability components by subgroup, you'll see because it's the high school, they have a lot more cells that go into calculating their school grade. So the area of focus for Madison County High School, the first one is an instructional practice that's specifically related to student engagement. The rationale is that student engagement as a practice improves our students' abilities to learn and incorporate skills that lead to success. Successful students begin to see the need for school attendance because they were having an issue with attendance, and improves discipline so that referrals will decrease also. The data shows that many of our students' attendance and discipline problems are students that are not successful in the general curriculum. So that's why they want to target student engagement. Their measurable outcome, their goal is to reduce the number of students that have an early warning system for an average of 22 students per grade level to an average of 10 students per grade level. This will reflect at least a 50% improvement for students in early warning system. Early warning system data is the data that was on the first couple of pages. And as I said earlier, it's by grade level, so you can see when you are looking at Madison County High School, they have a lot of students with a lot of truancy issues, but they also have some students, that have suspensions, that have course failures, and so their early warning system data is what they're going to use to monitor if student engagement is improving around the school. They want to increase that from having 22 students that have multiple indicators of early warning data down to 10 students. They're going to monitor it through classroom walkthroughs, and they call it Inspect What We Expect. Quarterly progress monitoring tools that are going to assess the progress of the curriculum. Professional learning communities that are held for the teachers on a monthly basis to review the data and concerns of different students. Their action steps to get this done is going to be classroom walkthroughs. Also, the administration is going to monitor instruction through classroom walkthroughs, but also the monitoring through the observation program online to give teachers immediate feedback. We have what's called Observe for Success, and it's a it's a tool that allows you to use forms for walkthroughs, but also build your own forms. So if they're specifically looking for student engagement, they can simply generate the form. They do have some pre-made forms too, so they can use that, or they can generate their own forms. They'll walk through the classroom, and as soon as they complete the form, it emails the results of the form, the walkthrough, to the teacher. So the feedback is not a week later when you're in the PLC, it's immediate. So that's a great thing. They're going to be using that tool as they walk through. Administration is going to meet every month with teachers during their PLCs. Their second area of focus is related to their graduation and acceleration. Specifically to graduation, they want to increase their graduation rate. 75% of the seniors in the cohort graduated last year. That was their graduation rate. Students need to obtain a high school diploma in order to advance to higher secondary education or workforce. And I will say that the graduation rate is lag data. So the 75%, the graduation rate for this year has already been calculated because it's based on the students in May. So it is lag data. And what they do around November, they give us an opportunity to proof what they have. And if it's correct, they send it out. So just so you guys know that. Measurable outcome, they're gonna increase the number of seniors in their cohort that are graduating by the end of the school year to 90% is their goal. And the way they're gonna do this is by weekly admin meetings. In those meetings, they're gonna be monitoring seniors who are at risk for not graduating based on that early warning data. They're gonna have quarter meetings with the teachers that's going to include data for the seniors. And the graduation coach is gonna monitor through graduation checks. And the graduation checks is where they meet with the student, meet with parents if necessary.
Okay.
And they go over, you know, what the student has accomplished, their GPA, the classes, and all of that good stuff. So the action steps they have, first of all, they're gonna work on the attendance, as attendance was an issue. It says senior attendance will be monitored weekly to ensure that seniors are attending class. Attendance clerk will report attendance to the admin team weekly. The next thing they're going to look at is grades. Grades and credits will be monitored in the cohort Excel spreadsheet to keep track of seniors that are failing in their classes or have failing credits. These students will be put into credit recovery to make up credit. So once again, they're just going to stay consistent so that they don't miss students along the way. And as soon as the student fails the course at the end of the semester, they'll be put into credit recovery so they can try to recover those credits. Seniors in danger of not, I'm sorry, this is action step number 3 for the concordance scores. Seniors in danger of not graduating will be monitored in admin team meetings. Jada Williams, which is their graduation coach, and the guidance department will retest students in September and December. The SAT will also be given. So they're given multiple opportunities for students who need a concordance score, meaning they did not pass their FAST ELA for 10th grade or their Algebra 1 EOC or Geometry EOC. So they have an opportunity to take tests like the SAT, the ACT. Last year they had a chance to take the CLT. They have a chance to take the FAST several times a year, and then also the Algebra 1 EOC. In fact, they just finished last year. Probably have some makeups this week for those retakes. So multiple opportunities for students to try and get the scores they need as far as passing the test to graduate.
Let me ask you a question about that. Do the parents get notified if there's a problem or they may not graduate?
Yes, ma'am.
The parents get,
Yes, ma'am.
Several
So,
times.
That was the one you
several
just went
times.
over.
yeah.
ma'am,
You just went over that one, didn't you, with
Yeah.
Jada,
yeah, so
the graduation coach.
Right.
So I want to make, I was just clarifying that.
So when she meets with them, they always start with 12th grade first. I mean, eventually she trickles down to other grade levels, but for the graduation coach, the focus is on 12th and then also 11th grade. So she meets with the students one-on-one, they do a check with her. There's literally a sign-off form and stuff. The parents meet as well. She goes over where they are, what they need. So yes, ma'am, that does happen.
Thank you.
And that happens in the fall of the year.
Okay.
Right. It's, the first one is in the fall, so like around this time, as she finishes up with this set of testing, probably like next week or so, she'll start those meetings, but it also continues. But the first time is, you know.
Well, thank you for that information.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, and so their next area of focus, they actually have 3 areas of focus because they're focusing on one of their subgroups, their ESSA subgroups, which is students with disabilities. So their students with disabilities were less than 41% of them were proficient. So their goal is to increase students with disability proficiency on their FAST assessments from 41 to 50%. And they're going to do so by decreasing the number of absences and the numbers of zeros students get when they go to OSS or ISS. The way they're going to monitor it is by weekly attendance, and they're going to determine the race and how many African Americans had excessive absences. Since they actually had students with disabilities and African Americans as their subgroups. The action steps they're going to take like I was saying earlier, their attendance is gonna be a big factor. Their attendance clerk, Kathy Chancey, is gonna report to admin weekly on how the students with disabilities who have excessive absenteeism, she's gonna report out to them so that they can try to get the truancy process started on those students and hopefully get those students back to school. Another action step, the admin is gonna meet with teachers monthly during the meetings, during the day meetings, and they're gonna discuss specifically students with disabilities that have failing grades in their classes. Also, the Dean of Students, Dr. Blue, is going to monitor and report to admin weekly on the students with disabilities as far as their referrals go. And they have come up with Saturday school that they can be used, just as an alternative so that students aren't actually missing class going to ISS. And then finally, I probably had a step 4, that was it. As far as their positive culture goes, their measurable outcome, in 2024, Madison County High School will work hard to decrease the number of behavioral incidents while increasing the percentage of economically disadvantaged students scoring proficient or higher in English language arts, making at least a year of learning gains. And that's because, as I said earlier, they felt like a lot of the students not performing or underperforming and not meeting the expectation was linked back to their absenteeism, but also behavior with referrals. Any more questions, Madison County High School? Okay, so now we have Madison County Central School. All right, so the area of focus for Madison County Central School, the first one is the instructional practice specifically related to science. And the science scores at Central School, this is their rationale, have been historically well below the district and the state average, making science instruction an area of focus that they will ensure is an area, science is a focus in every classroom, no matter the grade level. It has typically been a subject that was put on the back burner, and so now they want to make sure that all grade levels are focusing on science. Science scores for 2023-2024 decreased by 4 points in the 5th grade. They went from 21% of the students in 5th grade who took the science assessment in 2023-2024 down to 17%. In 8th grade, there was a 5% decrease as well. They went from 27% to 22% of students scoring proficiency during the 2023-24 school year. So their goal for this school year is to increase 5th grade and 8th grade science scores by 10% on the NGSS science assessment, and they will take that assessment during the month. So they're going to monitor it, first of all, by looking at the science curriculum guides that are going to be used in all grade levels to make sure that the pacing is on where it should be, but also to make sure that the alignment is there, aligning the benchmarks with the instruction. Progress learning assessments is going to be used to assess students so that they can see if students are mastering the science benchmarks. If they're not, they'll give the teachers an opportunity to go back and reteach. The science data is going to be reviewed during the PLCs with the teachers. 4th through 8th grade science teachers, planning periods have been coordinated so that those teachers can meet together monthly to discuss data, curriculum trends, and best practices. So it's just another layer of common planning to make sure that teachers are able to have talk that's not only horizontal but vertical as well, so that they can know what's expected at each grade level as far as science goes. Reading coaches will be assisting the science-based literature that will help develop the science vocabulary and non-fiction comprehensive skills. So the action steps, how they plan to do this. One, they're going to use progress learning. That's what I was saying about earlier, is the tool they're going to use to actually do assessments for the students to make sure that they get immediate feedback after they teach a benchmark. The teacher can go in, they'll assess the students, see if they, if they master it or if they need to reteach. And also there's issues that are across grade level. So that's going to be a good tool for them to use. The assistant principals are going to be making sure that teachers are not only giving students the assessments, but during their PLCs, their monthly PLCs, that the teachers are actually looking at the data and talking about the data and planning together to make sure that they're going back to look at the pacing guides if they need to adjust them or if they need to revamp them. The teachers are going to bring the science data, or I'll just say that. So their area of focus the second area of focus they have is related to one of their subgroups. That's a subgroup specifically related to students with disabilities. Students with disability population at Madison County Central School is 26%. This is the 5th consecutive year that Madison County Central School has been targeted for being below 41% in an ESSA subgroup category. The federal percent of points index increased from 24 to 29%. What this means, as I was saying earlier, even though Madison County Central School is not a targeted school for the state BSI to come in and support them because they were able to work their way out their school grade, if they have this subgroup for 6 consecutive years, then they go right back into needing support from the state. So they're working hard to make sure that this doesn't happen by targeting, well, not targeting, but being more strategic and trying to develop plans that are going to specifically help students with disabilities. This year in the elementary grades, they are creating what they call communities of learners. Each community has a K through 5th grade class, with each community having between 6 to 8 classes. The community is assigned one ESC teacher to support those students in the community those students in the community who have disabilities. The support facilitator is going to be using Gold Book, which is a data gathering program for students who have an IEP. This program also provides support and aligns instructional strategies and resources that aid teachers as they plan instruction. It places strategies at the fingertips of teachers to maximize access to standards for every student, regardless of their level. The students with disabilities are going to be assessed just like all our other students on a monthly basis using the STAR assessment for reading and math. So they're going to look at that to determine if the different strategies and if the different interventions that the teachers are getting from Gold Book are actually being effective. So the action step, number 1, they are going to support facilitators will utilize the Gold Book resources to gather and track data to ensure IEP goals are being met. And U-Fly, which is one of our intervention programs, is going to be used as a Tier 3 intervention to help students improve with reading. Their positive environment, they say at the end of 2024-25 school year, the total percentage of students who has an attendance rate of 90% or higher will increase from 47% to 60%. So as far as their school climate goes, they definitely want to focus on the attendance because there was an attendance issue, and they're trying to, just help students be successful by encouraging them to come to school more so that they can get instruction. They're going to do it by making sure they monitor the attendance data. It says each week the data is going to be gathered and discussed during the PLCs the teachers have. Each month the attendance is going to be gathered and discussed by the team leader meeting. And then students who miss more than 10% will be assigned a check-in, check-out adult. So an individual that they can go to, not they go to, the adult finds the student, and then making sure, they're checking in, that they're actually there that day. Or also students, usually they get excited about that and they'll go find their adult too. So those are some of the strategies they have put in place, and then they're gonna have monthly attendance celebrations for students who have missed less than 10%. All right, Lee Elementary School. For Lee Elementary School, the first area of focus they had is the instructional practice that's specifically relating to math. This year, their data showed 43% of their students were proficient in math. Grades 3 through 6 were all below the state average in math proficiency, and each grade level significantly decreased from 2023, so math is their focus. The measurable outcome that they're trying to get to is in 2025, on 2025 PM3, math fast results will show a 10% increase in proficiency in grades 3 through 6 when compared to the 2024 PM3. And they're going to monitor this by identifying specific student needs in order to provide appropriate Tier 1 instruction. 3rd through 6th grade teachers will do weekly PLCs with the math team, and the principal will go over standards that are taught and be sure they are on pace with the curriculum math. The way they're going to do this is by utilizing first of all, utilizing the intervention piece that is in their curriculum. SAVIS is a high quality standards aligned curriculum that will be used to teach daily. It's research based, and they're going to use that to target their Tier 1 instruction, because they believe that by improving their Tier 1 instruction, it will help students become more successful on their math standards. Also, intentional planning, the next thing they're going to do, intentional planning will be done weekly during the PLCs to make sure that teachers are on pace to teach the required standards. The grade book will also be monitored by the principal to watch the pass rates of students as teachers are putting in those grades for the standards after students take those tests. The action steps, they're going to do it by having daily classroom walkthroughs done by the principal. Common planning times will be scheduled for collaboration among the teachers. They'll have weekly professional learning communities that will occur and allow grade level and subject level teams to meet with the principal. They're going to look at the grade book and also look at the lesson plans. Those are going to be reviewed as well on a weekly basis. Communication with parents will happen quarterly, and then conferences will be used to help families of students who are struggling on the required standards. Their second area of focus is a practice specifically relating to intervention. It says PM3 math fast results showed a 10% increase in math gains in grades 3 through 6 when compared to 2024. The students at Lee Elementary results on the 2024 PM3 FAST results specifically showed students' needs in order to provide the appropriate Tier 2 or 3 level or Tier 3 interventions for students in grades 3rd through 6th. A specific team time has been built into the master schedule for these interventions to happen daily in a small group. Teachers will do weekly PLCs with the math team and the principal to go over the standards that are taught and to see if students need remediation. After each, after STAR assessments are taken, they will be given monthly in order to be frequent enough to show the progress monitoring data. And it's going to be communicated with the parents each 9 weeks. The action step they're going to take in order to make sure that their interventions run smoothly is daily walkthroughs, which is going to be done by the principal, common planning times that are scheduled, weekly professional learning communities, and And also, they're gonna discuss the monitoring data, and communication with the parents will be mandatory. Their positive culture and environment, students' attendance will be an area of focus for this school year. And last school year, the data showed 40% of students had less than 90% attendance rate. Therefore, they're focusing on the attendance. It says attendance is going to be monitored daily. Parents will be called in the morning when a child is not in attendance. Early warning system data reports will be run bi-weekly, and conferences will be scheduled with families for students that are truant. Attendance incentives and awards will also be given throughout the school year. Whew, fast, but not least. Thank you, Jesus.
Please, Greenfield.
Ma'am? Yes, ma'am. We're on the last one. All right. Area of focus for Greenville, the first area of focus is the instructional practice that's specifically related to math. The rationale for the area of focus, the math scores in the last school year were 0%. We lacked certified teachers in the areas of the subject of math, and it was identified due to the proficiency. This year, the goal, we would like to achieve at least 25% proficiency across all grade levels at the school. The monitoring, the way they're going to monitor to make sure that what they're doing is working. The area of focus is going to be monitored by daily walkthroughs from the principal and the coach, and also district level instructional coaches. The mathematics data will be monitored, which will be taken from the STAR monthly assessments, and they're going to adjust their instruction as needed based on those assessments. We will be utilizing the exact path for remediation program along with small groups, full library teacher, and tutors in order to be, I'm not sure what that was, but they're going to utilize tutors. I know they have tutors that will come during the school day, and then they're also going to have teachers that are tutoring students after school. So using that, those areas, using a tutor in order to target their areas where students are struggling is going to help them improve their math proficiency. The action steps they're going to take, the school is going to conduct monthly data chats with teachers, and teachers will also conduct data chats with students. The next action step is going to be monitoring the effectiveness of tutors. They're going to monitor the effectiveness of tutors by looking at the STAR assessments that they're going to be taking. The data of tutored students will be analyzed for effectiveness. The changes will be made in order to make sure that outcomes are satisfactory. Their second area of focus is their instructional practice relating specifically to ELA, as they are required to do so because they are a raised school, and as I said earlier, raised schools just means that your ELA proficiency is not where it needs to be for your third through sixth grade. Our area of focus is ELA proficiency. The data for the previous school year showed the ELA proficiency did not meet district or state standard. The students will utilize the core curriculum, and they will also use UFly, which is our intervention program. The measurable outcomes, they are going to be taking the STAR assessment on a monthly basis, and the STAR assessment on the monthly basis is going to be monitored. The monthly data chats will be conducted, and the data will be driving the decisions that will be made. Data will be analyzed monthly with instructional coaches, the principal, the teacher, and it allowed them to make informed decisions about instruction. The core curriculum, which is Wonders for their reading, and is the intervention they're going to use. There's an intervention component in their curriculum, but they're also going to use Exact Path, which is a tool, an online tool for the students that I talked about earlier, where students take an assessment and it finds out what they know, it finds out their skill set, the benchmarks that they're able to pass, and then it kind of meets them where they are and help build the student up. So they're going to be utilizing that as well. The action steps are going to take place. The data is going to be used to drive decisions. The principal is going to monthly look at that data, conduct progress monitoring assessments with the instructional coaches, the principal, and the teacher. Their area of focus number 3. Address the school's highest priorities based on all and relevant data. I'm sorry, no, they don't have it there. The positive culture and environment for Greenville Elementary. The focus here for Greenville Elementary is going to be making sure that the school is fully staffed. He says we did not have full-time certified teachers throughout the school year at all grade levels. This had a negative effect on student learning. It was identified because we did not have a full staff of teachers for the entire year. So the measurable outcome. In the prior year, there were only 3 certified teachers for the 7 available teaching positions. This year, the goal is to have 7 certified teachers for the entire school year. This will be monitored for the desired outcome by the number of teachers that are actually at the school and assigned to the school from the beginning of the school year until the end of the school year. The person responsible for that is Mr. Self. He's going to ensure, it says, we will continue to try and recruit teachers and hire teachers as vacancies arise. And right now they are fully staffed. Any questions?
You answered my question.
Awesome.
I don't have any.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 5.8. Is that?
That was need to be approved, don't you, because,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. Due to the school grade at Greenville Elementary, their school improvement plan has to be board approved. And then all of the plans will go live October 1st. The state will upload them to their website, which just means anyone in the public can, go in and look at them. But Greenville's actually has to be approved.
can we just approve all of them anyway?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the school improvement plans.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Carroll, that we accept the school improvement plans. Questions? All in favor, please show your hands. Thank you. 5-0. Mrs. Bishop. Next item, 5.8, in-school tutors, Greenville Elementary School, Mrs. Joseph.
Okay, Madam Chair, in following with the, one of the action steps in the school improvement plan is that through the UNICEF dollars, they would hire in-school person to come in during school time to tutor students. And so I'm bringing before you 2 persons, Emily Dickey and Gwen James, to come in school during school time and tutor students. But it's only 2 of them for tutoring, the third one for something
Oh,
else.
I'm sorry. Okay.
but it says in school, I'm talking about tutor right now. The other one's a
Madam Chair,
mentor.
I move
come
to
on.
accept the recommendation for the 2 tutors.
Second.
We got you, we understood.
Okay.
Okay,
I've got one other thing, because on that same thing, I have a mentor. I had 3 contracts. And one is.
but wait a minute, you said in-school tutors, and we have a, motion on the floor in a second here.
Oh, I thought
So
you
we
had
need to
finished, I'm
approve.
sorry.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Carroll, that we approve the in-school tutors. Questions? There will be none. All in favor of 5-0. Now, Mrs. Joseph, what else do you have?
Okay, on that same item, it says tutors and a mentor. We're asking for Ms. Catherine Fletcher, which is reads to serve as a mentor guidance counselor for the guidance counselor at the high school.
Now, you're saying that this one is a mentor at the high school.
Okay, she will be mentoring the counselor at the high school.
Okay, the
Yes.
guidance counselor, new guidance counselor, okay.
I move we approve, the mentor for the high school guidance counselor.
I second.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we approve the mentor at the high school. Mrs. Fletcher would do that, but what I'm,
And I have questions too.
yes, ma'am. And so we're going to entertain questions, but what I have is how long and what rate of pay.
Okay, it's for, in the contract, the period of performance will be from September 17th through May 2025.
A whole year.
Yes, ma'am. it's
Yes.
required.
Well, how we hire these people and they're not qualified? That they got to be mentored. That's all I gotta say.
All beginning teachers have to be mentored.
But,
So
Okay,
so
Ms.
this is
Knight.
a requirement then?
This is a requirement, it's a state law.
Okay.
Beginning
with
teacher.
the guidance counselors too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thought it was the teachers.
That's instructional.
And we
So
don't have
how long
anybody
and
else
how
on
much?
staff.
Okay, because the district agrees to pay Catherine Fletcher $1,000 per mentee who completes the mentoring program. Pay will be prorated on $100 per month for mentees who withdraw from the program.
Oh, that's all.
$1,000 per mentor.
All I
That's
know
what
is
I'm
that
saying,
guidance
that's all.
counsel stuff is important. Very, very, very.
It
That's
is.
exactly, so that's why we should be hiring people who has the experience and who
Right.
has the
Hire who
know-how.
applies.
It is very, very important.
Well, I was gonna say, I would like to see somebody who is focused on, something that I personally think, guiding our students with scholarships and those types of things. I was disappointed to see the few students that actually got Bright Future scholarships last year. That our students need somebody who will help guide them to get those scholarships so that they can succeed in life.
Well,
So-
and we need to go back to being proactive, not reactive, and waiting till these kids are seniors in high school to start doing guidance
Right.
and figuring out whether they have enough credits to graduate or not is a huge part of, it's a huge component of how we're failing our students. So I think we need to get back and change our mindset and start addressing these students from 9th grade all the way through their senior year.
Yes, I agree with that.
Finish.
Yes, ma'am.
And I discussed this with Mr. Brooks, the scholarships. He said the students do not want to fill out the form, so therefore they're going to try to reach out to the parents. Because he said they just don't want to fill out, I don't know, maybe
Well,
you're.
Mr. Brooks need to let all the
Well-
school board members know that then.
Well, I was gonna
Because,
say,
we have these questions about it.
like with the
You need to
Bright
present.
Future Scholarship, when I was in high school, we all knew from day one what a Bright Future Scholarship was, what the requirements were. We had regular meetings with guidance to say, hey, this is your track, this is what you need to complete. I got a Bright Future Scholarship and I didn't think twice about it because I was guided all throughout high school to get that. These children don't know what they don't know. So we have to have somebody who's willing to come in and say, this is what you need. And if it weren't for some of the parents, I don't think the seniors that got the Bright Future Scholarship would have gotten them. Thankfully, they had parents that knew how to guide them through the process. I was highly disappointed in the very few that got a Bright Future
And
Scholarship.
then they need to know, the scholarships, the name of the scholarships available and
Yes.
what you have to do to get these scholarships.
It doesn't, to me, that's an excuse to
Because it's the
say they didn't
vocational
want to fill out the
scholarships and all
forms.
that, there are different kinds.
And I'm not,
No,
I don't
no.
mean to be ugly, but
No,
I'm
it's
not, and I'm
not
not
being
meaning
ugly.
that
No, I'm
towards
just
you.
saying what he said.
Right, but that is an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
These are children, and we can be creative and provide opportunities and say, hey, we're gonna have a day where, whether it be a class period or a time where we're gonna help you, we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna guide you, we're gonna show you what to do. We were taught how to do those things. I can remember being shown step by step by step, these are the scholarships, and they were very competitive when I
And
was in
you
high
knew
school.
what you were doing
Yes,
and you
we
knew how
did.
to maneuver through that.
But
And,
that's,
you know, and
that
I-
goes
I
back
was
to
gonna
being, that goes back to being reactive and not
Yeah.
proactive. Because they're finding out in their senior year, oh, well, I don't qualify for Bright Futures.
Exactly.
Because I didn't do my, 100 volunteer hours, or, and it's a little hard to go qualify for that when you are,
You're working from behind.
3 months, away from scholarship deadline.
Hopefully
So,
Ms. Fletcher will train him right.
well,
Well, we hope so, not hopefully, we really hope so.
It's a disservice to our children.
Where were we?
Try to pass the motion.
We already had a
Got a
motion
motion
and
and
a
a
second.
second.
Yes, we do have the motion and second. All in favor of? 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. But you said $1,000. Who's gonna work for $100 a month? Oh my God, maybe she needs to join the union too. I'm so sorry. Our last item under items for individual consideration is 5.9, and that's UDT, that's United Data Technologies.
Excuse me.
And I didn't get who was going to present that. Is that you, Mrs. Hill?
Ms. Hill is going to present
Thank you.
As we have started working with our new social studies curriculum, these instructional materials companies are beginning to build courses for the teachers, and that's great, but you have to have some type of learning management system. Our learning management system that we use is Google Classroom, but we've always just let the teachers build in what they wanted to. With this new social studies adoption, the company will actually build the courses for the teachers. And that's the way a lot of the instructional materials are going. And so we talked with Google, and Google has a plan that will allow us to interact with the instructional materials company so that those can just be downloaded straight to each teacher. And so what we want to do is actually, we've been using the free stuff from Google, but if we will purchase with this contract a license, then we can actually get those instructional materials downloaded for each teacher. Yes, ma'am?
Now, when you say instructional material, you mean the lesson plans or all the materials they need to use for the lesson?
The
or-
actual textbook.
Oh, the actual textbook.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
With all the learning activities actually built in.
Okay.
So it's really neat because it takes what's in the textbook and makes it interactive for the students on their Chromebooks.
Okay.
Cost?
Okay. So this
Okay.
is a per student per month rate,
Yes.
35 cents per student
See, the
per
ordinance
month,
on the people.
and it's a 3-year commitment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If
To
you,
get that rate, we need to go with a 3-year commitment.
if you look on the right-hand side, about a quarter of the way down, it's got the total price, the $21,400.
That's exactly, but people who are listening to this, they do not have that information, the cost. So the general public who's listening, that needs to be included. Mhm.
Right. It will be over a 3-year period, $21,000, about a
Thank
little
you.
over $7,000 per year.
So will this be paid in advance 3 years or monthly?
No, we're trying to get it set up so we pay that in advance.
Okay,
and where are the funds coming from?
that
We're
was
trying
my,
to use ESSER.
okay,
That means we gotta have it paid encumbered by the 30th.
okay,
Continues. I
okay.
have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the UDT contract.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Carroll, that we approve the UDT contract. Any other questions? All in favor, please show your hand. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop, thank you. Okay. Other items of interest, Madam Superintendent?
Madam Chair, I'm gonna be a bit lengthy tonight, okay? First thing, I want to thank Mr. Killsworth for 35 years of service to the district. He served as a teacher, as an AP, as assistant principal, district administrator, and a coach. And it has been a joy working with him, for him, and beside him in all these years. And again, thank you, Mr. Killsworth.
He left.
Okay. At your desk, you should have seen a flyer, because next week, this is a homecoming week at MCHS, and they've got different activities for all these each day. Now, we had consented to be in the parade, which begins at 10 o'clock. So what's the specifics of the parade, Mr. Carroll?
What you mean?
Ms. Thompson?
He has offered for us to utilize his vehicle. We have a driver, so I'm making the suggestion that we all meet at the Winn-Dixie parking lot Friday morning.
9:30.
I'd say 9:30.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
He
Okay,
has,
and I won't be there.
you're not gonna ride in the
No,
front?
ma'am.
I'm gonna let you ride up front.
In the air conditioner?
I won't be there.
Okay,
She said that's too.
But, cause I'm getting it detailed Thursday, so.
That's too
I
early.
might mess it up.
okay. Another thing, I'm asking the board for permission to start advertising for the administrative secretary. Ms. Bishop will be retiring in the end of December, and I want the person to be able to shadow her at least a month before she leaves.
When is it?
She's leaving end of December, am I correct?
Okay.
And, you know, we've got a week off in December, a week and a half off in December, we've got a week off in November, and so if we could start advertising for that now. So do we need a vote or just consensus?
Consensus, you can.
Okay, anybody disagree with that? And yes, it will be brought before the board before we hire anyone. Now, right now, I just need to advertise, and no, I do not have anyone pre-chosen. It's gonna be open slate.
Maybe we can talk her into staying.
Her job is up, and I don't think you're gonna top her
Congratulations,
in
Becky.
staying right now. Okay, another thing, we have been busy this past week. Friday, we had school assembly with the sheriff, the chief of police, and school safety personnel and administrators regarding school threats and social media. On Friday, we met at Central School with the 6th through 8th graders, and today we met at the high school with grade 9 through 12. And right now, I'm in the process of setting up a similar meeting for the community, so the community can hear what the sheriff and the police department have said. So, knowledge is supposed to be power, and you need to be proactive, like you said, and tell the people what steps are we going through, how are we trying to keep their kids safe, and should you decide to go down that road, this is what's going to happen to you. And so we've had a lot of positive response from the Central School personnel and from the high school personnel. And no, we're not forgetting about the K through 5, but we felt that if that's something that the school resource officers could handle, and because they've got a more personal relationship with that grade level. And so those assemblies will be coming on soon. They will, and so all of our students will be getting taught with about making threats and what does it mean to be making a threat. Okay, and at the last meeting we talked about is I asked you to wait until after the AFR was presented before we brought school consolidation back up. School consolidation is on my forefront again, and at the next meeting, and I'll probably be getting in touch with all of you before then, I will have committees, suggested committees, and the charge that we want the committees. And so I'll have that for you at the next meeting. And from the incidents from last week, Ms. Bishop, we should have an expulsion hearing scheduled for our next meeting.
Oh, I haven't got the green card.
It's 2 weeks after that you get to do it, and it's been,
Try to get the green
okay,
card. We know when you have it.
okay. And so, with us having an extra week in here, we'll probably be prepared for an expulsion meeting then. That's all, Ms. Hagan.
So that's for the October meeting.
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Carroll? I don't have anything. Ms. Thompson?
I just want to say congratulations again to Mr. Killingsworth on your retirement, and thank you to all of our staff for everything that you do.
No comment?
I've got a few things to say tonight. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you and thank you again to my supporters in District 2. I also heard and felt the many votes of confidence in District 1, 3, 4, and 5 and beyond, and I appreciate you. In addition, I'd like to thank again my supporters for not one of them said a negative word on social media, and I appreciate that.
Hold on a
Against
minute.
mine.
Hold on a minute. School board meeting, campaigning and all that stuff, it's not supposed to be brought up. You're supposed to report, thank them in other media socials or on your page, but not in a school board meeting. Am I correct? No campaigning
I'm
and
not
campaigning
campaigning.
stuff. But it's pertaining to your campaign.
Well,
And so
whatever
that's
I'd rather hear from the attorney.
I think to the extent it had something to do with your school board duties and responsibilities, that'd be fine. But yeah, just thanking people for, you know.
Well, that's what I'm basically doing, thanking everybody.
Yeah, but yeah, that's probably not appropriate for.
Oh, don't thank them.
I would not thank voters for voting for you at the school board meeting.
Oh, okay, well then we won't thank them.
But to the extent you were talking about some issue that could come before the school board, yeah, that would be appropriate.
But not that.
Okay, I understand that, okay. Well, I don't really have an issue to explain, so I guess we'll just leave it at that. Yeah,
Thank you for your service.
thank you.
Congratulations. Okay,
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
meeting adjourned.
Amen.